Morning and welcome to our Board of Commissioners zoning hearing this February 18th, 2025. I'm pleased today that we have Pastor John Mason with us. He will be providing our invocation, and he is from Providence Community Baptist Church. Following the invocation, I'll lead the pledge. For those of you willing and able, please stand for both our invocation and our pledge.
Good morning to our Board of Commissioners as well as those who are in the audience. Let us go to the Lord for guidance. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed will be thy name. Lord, we come to you this beautiful day that you've given to us, and we're praying for our Board of Commissioners, that you will give them the wisdom to discern the business that comes before them, that they may act in a fair and just manner. And then, Lord, we just pray that the business that is conducted, that it may be done for the benefit of the citizens in this county. We give thanks to you now for all that you will do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our meeting is now called to order, and I will turn things over to John Peterson, our zoning manager, to walk us through today's agenda.
And thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. When the case is called, we would ask that the applicant please stand and raise their hand to show that they are in attendance. After that, we're going to call to see if there's anyone here opposed to that specific case. We would also ask that the opposition please stand and raise their hand so that they can be counted for the official record. Then, after recognizing both parties will be asked to come forward to be sworn in. The applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if any, will testify second. It's important to note that each side gets 10 minutes to state their case or concerns. There's not a rebuttal process, and there's not a process to reserve your time. So you need to convey all your information to the board within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if more than one person wishes to speak on a case, you may want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to talk about, because each side only gets 10 minutes, and you don't want to cover the same information over and over. After that, the board will start to discuss the case at hand. From the discussion, they may ask one or more speakers to come back to the front for additional comments or questions. And after that, the board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the case at hand. There are a number of cases on today's printed agenda which have been withdrawn without prejudice, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z37 of 2024, Bosco Ikea Kananen. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice, will not be heard today. Next case is rezoning case Z44 of 2024, Manor Restorations LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z63 of 2024, Whataburger Restaurants LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z2 of 2025, Kareem Algbanga. This case was withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. SLEP 1 of 2025, TT of Kennesaw, Inc. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. And finally, other business item number 73 of 2024, Whataburger Restaurants LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Madam Chair and Board, we did get a request late last week to withdraw another case.
Okay.
The applicant wishes to withdraw LEP 4, Hero Farm Cooperative, and the staff would ask the board withdraw this case without prejudice.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll turn things over to you, Commissioner Burrow.
Yes, thank you. I make a motion to withdraw Lot 4 without prejudice.
Okay, is there
Second.
any discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And there are a number of cases on today's printed agenda which have been either held or continued, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z2 of 2024, Florinor Development Group LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 4th, 2025 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z2 of 2024 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z43 of 2024, Campus Realty Advisors LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 18th, 2025 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So Z43 of 2024 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z68 of 2024, Sachs Austell LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 4th, 2025 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z68 of 2024 will not be heard today. SLEP 9 of 2024, Campus Realty Advisors LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 18th, 2025 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So SLEP 9 of 2024 will not be heard today. SLEP 2 of 2025, Freebird Communications LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 4th, 2025 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 2 of 2025 will not be heard today. And finally, SLEP 3 of 2025, Swarm Football Club LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 4th, 2025 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 3 of 2025 will not be heard today. And just as a side note to that case, Madam Chair and Board, this case is in the city of Mapleton. So next month, this case will be shown as withdrawn on your agenda, and it'll be Mapleton's job to have it approved. Okay. And I do have one request, Madam Chair and Board, to continue one other case. The applicant for other business item number 5 of 2025, Diana Bickers, she has asked this case be continued into your next zoning hearing.
Okay, Commissioner Gambrill.
I'd like to make a motion to continue OB 5 of 2025 until the March 18th, 2025 hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And I do have a couple more announcements to make before we start the consent agenda. If you have a cell phone, please turn the volume on off. When the phones ring, it does interfere with the broadcast and presentations, so please mute your cell phone. And number 2, I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing. Any information submitted after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. And with that, Madam Chair and Board, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Thank you, please do.
Cobb County Board of Commissioners zoning hearing consent agenda for February 18th, 2025. First case on consent is rezoning case Z1. TT of Kennesaw, Inc. requests a rezoning from R30 and GC to CRC for used car sales and an automotive parking lot in land lot 125 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Cobb Parkway, on the north side of New Rutledge Road, east of Jim Owens Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Z1 to the CRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received by the zoning division on December 2nd, 2024, with minor modifications to be approved by the district commissioner. Number 2, applicant to plant a 40-foot landscape buffer along New Rutledge Road, which is to create a visual screening barrier that shall remain in perpetuity, with the district commissioner to assess the adequacy. Number 3, there is to be no amplified sound within 100 feet of New Rutledge Road. Number 4, fire department comments and recommendations. Number 5, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. Number 6, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. And number 7, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z1? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Next case on consent is rezoning case Z3. Trayton Homes requests a rezoning from R80 to R30. From R80 to R30 and R80 for a single-family residential subdivision in land lots 386 and 429 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Lost Mountain Road, east of Malcolm Woods Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Z3 to the R30 and R80 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the District Commissioner to approve the final site plan and building elevations. Number 2, District Commissioner to approve the final landscape plan. Number 3, letter of agreeable conditions from Mr. Parks Huff dated January 29, 2025, with the following change. To item item number 11, delete in its entirety. Number 4, any staff comments stating fee in lieu of sidewalks is to be deleted. Number 5, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number 6, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. Number 7, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. And number 8, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z3? You got one? Okay. Madam Chair and Board, there is one person opposed.
Okay.
So we'll pull that one off consent and hear it in its regular order.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the next case, rezone case Z4, Joselio Cruz, request rezoning from R20 and RM12 to R15 for 2 single-family houses in land lot 590 of the 18th District. The property is located on the west side of Elsner Road, south of Riverside Parkway. The Planning Commission recommends deletion of Z4 to the R20 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, District Commissioner to approve the final site plan, final landscape plan, and final house elevations. Number 2, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number 3, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. Number 4, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. And number 5, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezone case Z4? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add a condition. Revised Planning Commission comment to reflect that a landscape plan is to include a 20-foot buffer along the northern property line of Lot 2, and all other comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict.
Thank you. Did the applicant hear that additional condition to be added? Yes, are you amenable to that? Yes, we are. Okay, thank you.
All right. Next case is LUP1, The Giving Gardens, Inc., request a temporary land use permit renewal for a community garden space, including animal husbandry, education, mobile food service unit, food sales, and intern housing in land lots 183 and 250 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Cooper Lake Road and on the east side of Waits Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Lot 1 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, no parking on the right-of-way. All customer and client parking must be on the adjacent paved church parking lot property. Number 2, no exterior signs. Number 3, no outside storage allowed. And number 4, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LEP1? Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP2, Jacqueline Teo requests a temporary land use permit renewal to allow occupancy of an accessory structure in land lot 256 of the 16th District. The property is located on the west side of Wesley Chapel Road, north of River Ridge Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Lot 2 for 24 months, subject to, number 1, to be used for personal family use only, and inclusion on the consent agenda. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP2? Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP3, Archbishop Gregory J. Hartmeyer, Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Atlanta as trustee of the AOA Parish Real Estate Trust, request a temporary land use permit renewal for a Catholic campus ministry in land lot 97 of the 20th District. The property is located on the west side of Campbell Soup Road, across from Paulding Avenue. Planning Commission recommends approval of Lot 3 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, all parking to be within the driveway or at the KSU campus. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LEP3? Let the record show there's no one opposed. LEP5, Caton Costello requests a temporary land use permit renewal for growing and selling cut flowers in land lot 156 of the 1st District. The property is located on the north side of Sunset Trail, east of Bayless Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Lot 5 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, adherence to all code requirements for customary home occupations, not in conflict. Number 2, no sales from this location. Number 3, no exterior signs. And number 4, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LEP5? Let the record show there's no one opposed. LEP7, Garfield McCook requests a temporary land use permit renewal for a personal care home in land lot 22 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Stylesboro Road, west of Alatuna Lane. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Lot 7 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, maximum of 14 residents. Number 2, maintain turnaround capabilities of driveways so that vehicles can exit the property frontwards. Number 3, no exterior signs. Number 4, maintain all state and county required permits. Number 5, maintain the size of the lot as it currently exists. And number 6, Department of Transportation comments, recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LEP 7? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Moving into other business cases on the consent agenda. First case is other business item number 1 of 2025. Robert Carignan requests a consideration of a lot size reduction from 20,000 square feet to 18,402 square feet, which is existing. A side setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet along the north property line, which is existing. An encroachment into the stream buffer for a proposed swimming pool for property located on the east side of Paradise Shaw's Road in Land District 17, land lot 835. Staff recommends approval, subject to the lot size and other variances as provided. And number 2, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 1? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 2 of 2025 is to consider a settlement of litigation for Donald K. Nix et al. Regarding case Z4 of 2023. The property is located on the south side of Freeman Road, east of Johnson Ferry Road, in land lot 539 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, letter from Mr. Parks Huff dated January 9th, 2025. Number 2, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. And number 5, site plan review comments contained in the other business packet. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 2?
Yes, John, okay. Sorry, there's no one in opposition,
Okay.
but Commissioner Burrow would like to add some
Okay.
additional comments.
Thank you. As John mentioned, this is a settlement of litigation, so additional steps that I am going to read into the record that the applicant is agreeable to have to be done at the hearing, so that's why it was still on consent, but I have additional information here. So we have a recommendation from East Cobb Civic Association dated 2/14/2025 for other business 2. And for the record, I will read in everything, but there's also a copy for the clerk. East Cobb Civic Association agrees with Mr. Huff's proposed settlement offer letter of January 9th, 2025, and included stipulations. And these are the additional agreed to additional stipulations. Number 1, the subject property shall be developed as 2 single-family homes. Number 2, that each home shall have a minimum of a 2-car garage. Number 3, that the front yard of each home would be sodded. Number 4, that each home shall meet the Cobb County Code except for the variances hereby requested in the stipulation, conditions letter, or on the attached site plan, unless a variance is granted by the county at a later date. Number 5, construction trucks and worker vehicles shall be parked on the site. No stacking or parking of vehicles or trucks along Freeman Road. Number 6, construction vehicles to use Johnson Ferry Road only for ingress and egress to Freeman Road and to the property. No construction traffic allowed through the adjacent neighborhood streets. Number 7, a tire washing station shall be provided at the exit from the property during the development and construction of the project. Number 8, the district commissioners shall have the authority to approve minor modifications to the site plan, the architecture, and the stipulations, conditions as the development proposal proceeds through the plan review process and thereafter, except for those that, A, reduce the size of an approved buffer adjacent to existing residential property, B, relocate a structure closer to the property line of an adjacent residential property, C, seeks additional variances to provisions of the county code, Cobb County zoning ordinance. ECCA's recommendation, they recommend approval subject to settlement offer letter from Parks Huff dated January 9th, 2025. Addition of the above stipulations 1 through 8 agreed to by the applicants, and all staff comments were not in conflict. And then one more clarification with regard to the stip letter and the site plan. The front setback is shown as 25 feet. And the rear setback is shown as 35 feet. In number 2 of Mr. Park's stip letter, January 9th, it says it requires any deletion in the front setback to have a corresponding addition to the rear setback. So that would also be an additional step that the stip letter, number 2 stip letter prevails over the site plan, if that makes sense.
Okay. Is that clear for our clerk? Okay,
And Mr. Huff, you're in agreement? Yes. Correct. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. All right, next case is other business, item number 3 of 2025. James D. Hilton requests consideration of a road frontage reduction from 75 feet to 0 feet for lots 2 and 3, a road frontage reduction from 75 feet to 30 feet for lot 4, and to allow an accessory structure to the side of the house on lot 4 for property located on the north side of Pickens Road in Land District 19, land lots 141 and 156. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, water and sewer comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. And number 5, site plan review comments contained in the other business packet. Is the applicant present? I'd direct to show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 3? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Next case is other business item number 4 of 2025. Ron King requests consideration of a road frontage reduction from 75 feet to 50 feet for lots 1 and 2 for property located on the north side of Velma Drive, in Land District 19, land lot 351. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. And number 3, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 4? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 6 of 2025 is consider installing more than 5 EV charging stations, which is 8, on a non-residential zone property for Vanderland Industries, Inc. The property is located on the east side of Chastity Meadows Parkway and on the west side of Bells Ferry Road in land lots 498, 499, 510, and 511 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the plans contained in the other business packet. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 6? 3. So we got 3 opposed, Madam Chair and Board, so we'll pull that one off consent and put it in its regular order.
Thank you.
Okay, next case is other business item number 7 of 2025, which is to consider installing a gate and making Park Grace Road a private road for BEB Investments LLC. The property is located on the west side of Acworth Dallas Road in land lot 40 of the 20th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, water and sewer comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 5, site plan review comments contained in the other business packet. And number 6, county attorney's office to approve the memorandum of agreement for the gated subdivision prior to Board of Commissioners approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 7? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Next item on the agenda is other business item number 8 of 2025. Kareem Aligbanga requests a consideration of lot size reduction from 80,000 square feet to 13,249 square feet and other variances outlined in the application for property located at the southwest corner of Cranfield Road and Oak Street in Land District 17, Land Lot 279. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, site plan review comments contained in the other business packet. And number 5, site plan approval request received January 15th, 2025. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 8? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Next item is other business item number 9 of 2025, which is to consider amending the site plan and stipulations for Caliber Capital Kennesaw LLC regarding rezoning application Z17 of 2023 and SLUP 5 of 2023. The property is located on the west side of Roberts Court and on the east side of I-75 in land lot 651 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, site plan received January 15th, 2025. And number 5, all previous stipulations to remain in effect. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 9? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And the last item on consent is other business item number 10 of 2025, which is to consider amending the site plan for Robles Partners LLC regarding rezoning application Z55 of 2007. The property is located on the southerly side of Riverside Parkway at White Road in land lots 866, 867, 871, and 872 of the 18th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. Number 2, water and sewer comments contained in the other business packet. Number 3, fire department comments contained in the other business packet. Number 4, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. Number 5, site plan review comments contained in the other business packet. And number 6, site plan received January 16th, 2025. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 10? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any changes to consent? Commissioner Sheffield.
Yes, thank you. Some changes to OB 10, to add the additional revisions. Additional landscaping to be planted along the road frontage to fill in the landscaping gap. The final landscape plan to be approved by the district commissioner. Building elevations to include brick front with final elevations approved by the district commissioner. A comprehensive spill prevention plan to be reviewed and approved by stormwater management to ensure environmental compliance, and all other staff comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict.
Is the applicant amenable to those? Okay, the applicant's nodding yes. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other changes needed to the consent agenda? Okay, we have a number of items on consent. John, if you can just verify for me, I have Z3 pulled to regular as well as OB6.
Correct.
Okay. With that, Commissioners, I move that we approve the consent agenda as it has been revised.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. For those of you who are here as a part of our consent agenda and your matter has been approved, those are all the cases read except for Z3 pertaining to Trayton Homes and OB6 pertaining to Vonderlande. You're free to leave at this time. There'll be no more further discussion on those matters unless you choose to observe the other applicant's cases before us. Okay, John, you can begin with your first case.
Okay, first case we're going to hear today is rezoning case Z3, Trayton Homes, request a rezoning from R80 to R30 and R80 for a single-family residential subdivision in land lots 386 and 429 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Lost Mountain Road, east of Macklin Woods Drive. The applicant is present, and earlier there's one person here opposed. All those who wish to address the board for or against, please come forward to be sworn in.
We were talking to the neighbors. So if I need
Yes, can you just approach the mic since we've already called the case forward? Thank you.
It came up quickly. We were just talking to the neighbors, make sure we understand what their questions and concerns are. So
Before you begin.
I'll have them come back in.
Um,
Or unless you wanted
or
Les
Parks,
to
would you-
finish the conversation and go on to the next
Would you
case?
mind if we called the next case instead and put you at the bottom?
That'd be great.
Is the board okay with that?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
John, yeah, we can then go to the next case.
Okay, so we'll put that on case on hold and move into the next case, which is LUP 6. Lucky Galej Banda request a temporary land use permit to allow more than one business vehicle to be parked on the premises in land lot 1012 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Eloquent Lane, east of Ewing Road. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for LUP 6, Lucky Galej Banda? Is there anyone here opposed to this case?
Commissioner Sheffield, can you let us know what you'd like to do? Often in these circumstances, we do try to reach out to the applicant.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, if we can reach out to the applicant.
I will try to call the applicant.
Okay,
And this is in the city of Mapleton limits.
Right.
So we got to make a decision today.
I
if
understand.
we- So we'll try to call the applicant in.
okay, thank you.
All right, moving into,
I hope they didn't leave when you dismissed everyone.
okay, next,
Who's going to make contact? I don't see anyone.
Cameron is.
Cameron, okay, thanks, Cameron.
All right,
That
next
takes us to the
case
next one.
is other business item number 6 of 2025, which is to consider installing more than 5 EV charging stations, which is 8, on a non-residential zone property for Vanderland Industries, Inc. The property is located on the east side of Chastain Meadows Parkway and on the west side of Bells Ferry Road in land lots 498, 499, 510, and 511 of the 16th District. The applicant is present, and earlier there's 3 people here opposed. All those who wish to address the board for or against, please come forward to be sworn in. It's right there.
Good morning.
Hello. Sorry, first time doing this.
Okay. You can state your name first, and then you can let us know what this is about. Presume that we have not heard this matter before us.
My name is Bianca Sanderson. I work for the EV charging company who is in charge of actually installing those chargers and who also installed the first set of chargers that the property already has. We currently already have 5 chargers out there that were installed about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. And we are trying to install 3 more. The reason for that is the property at first needed 5. It was not that utilized. Now, every single day, all 5 chargers are being utilized at the same time, which means that if we have any visitors or anyone else has an EV, they cannot charge their cars. That's the reason why we're trying to install 3 more.
Thank you. Does that conclude your presentation
Yes.
for us? All right, we'll now hear from opposition. And if we have any additional questions, we'll call you back up.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. We'll hear from opposition. There are a total of 10 minutes. Be mindful of your time, as I believe there's more than one of you.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
My name is Tulin Abard, and I'm with the Bells Ferry Civic Association. The BFCA is not opposed to Vanderland's request to install more than 5 EV charging stations on their property. However, we request that the approval is postponed until Vanderland has incorporated all stipulations imposed on them by the BOC as stated in the OB2 2022 minutes from May 17, 2022. The BFCA has been involved with this 28-acre piece of property since the original rezoning of Z20 in 2015. OB9 in 2022 was a request to add 3 more buildings to the property, as shown in orange on the site plan map. 120,000 square foot office building, a 960 space parking deck, and a 42,000 foot innovation center. It was approved as long as the maximum impervious surface did not exceed 30%. None of these buildings have yet been built. There was also an agreement to turn 2.5 mainly floodplain acres into a passive public park, as shown as green on the map. The minutes state that OB9 2022 was approved subject to several conditions, including the stipulation letter of agreeable conditions from Kevin Moore dated April 13, 2022, which includes the site plan. To date, 3 years later, the following binding stipulations have not been adhered to. Number 2, quote, applicant agrees the frontage of the subject property adjacent to and along Bells Ferry Road will be enhanced with an additional row of evergreen trees planted along the top of the bank. This has not been done. Number 3, quote, applicant agrees to work with Cobb County and the Cobb Department of Transportation to enter into a landscape maintenance agreement to allow applicant to landscape and maintain the right-of-way of the subject property adjacent to and along Bells Ferry. This has not been done, and the area is an overgrown eyesore. Number 6, quote, applicant confirms the agreement to establish the park area for usable purposes and shall coordinate with the owner, Bells Ferry Civic Association, and Cobb County in those efforts. Vanderland was to maintain this 2.5-acre passive park for public use, and it would connect to the Noonday Creek Trailhead at the southeast corner of the property. They also stated that the public could use their parking lot on weekends as an overflow area for Noonday Creek Trail parking lot. However, without the community's knowledge, Vanderland transferred ownership of this 2.5-acre property to the county. A maintained path now exists from the trailhead to the Vanderland building for their employees to access the Noonday Creek Trail. Large, no trespassing, private property signs have been placed on this now county-owned land near the public parking lot. We hope the path was at least paid for by Vanderland as well as its upkeep. This situation presents an irony where an agreement for Vanderland to maintain the passive park for public use has transformed into a scenario where a private company utilizes county land for its own purposes while restricting public access. How can this be allowed? In addition, during rezoning negotiation, Vanderland had committed to hosting an on-site community day for the general public upon completion of the building. Unfortunately, this event never took place. Vanderland did not uphold their promise. We are very disappointed that a billion-euro company would establish its U.S. headquarters in this location and subsequently fail to fulfill its promises to the community by not adhering to many of the binding stipulations imposed by you, the Board of Commissioners. Therefore, we request that Vanderland implement what was required of them in OB 9, 2022, and remove the no trespassing signs on public property before you approve the addition of several EV charging stations. It's important to highlight that this is not an isolated incident. It is well known that stipulations are often disregarded by applicants, although they are binding and must be enforceable by the county. If this was not the case, residents of Cobb County are being given false assertions. The purpose of public meetings with applicants and negotiating stipulations become questionable if these agreements are not upheld. It is essential to uphold the public's interest and ensure that stipulations are adhered to and properly enforced. What measures are in place to ensure that this will happen? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other persons desiring to speak? You have a balance of 5 minutes and 52 seconds.
Good morning, ladies. Donald Barth. Again, we're here to speak on one thing and one thing only. There were some stipulations made in 2022, April. Here it is 3 years later, and they're not being upheld. You are the stewards of the county. We vote you in to do our wishes. And one of the things is we have a great civic association up there that has kept their eye on this thing, and they've been involved. One of the things you have to remember, when a company comes before you and says, I agree to do this if you let me do that, when they fail, just stop. You own the cards. Don't deal. No more cards will be dealt until they meet those stipulations. And here we hear that they have taken a 2.5 acre floodplain, donated it to the county. Is that to get out of the tax? I mean, what could they get out of that other than now it's part of county property, but they think it's still their own? That's wrong in so many ways for a corporation to abuse the citizens. Now, we all know what stipulations are, and we know that they're binding. Binding stipulations means somebody's supposed to make sure they adhere to it. Well, you don't have the resources. We don't want you to send 100 troopers out every day to see if somebody did that. But when it's brought up to you, please consider the fact it's brought up to you with good intentions. Are the EV stations a big deal? Not one bit. Nobody's opposed to that. We're opposed to moving forward until you correct the deficit that's in place right now. They said they would agree to these terms. Hold their feet to the fire. That's your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers on this matter who are in opposition? Okay, not seeing any, I'll close the hearing. And considering that this is in District 2, I will go ahead and speak to this matter. I do want to thank the Bells Ferry Civic Association for emailing the board the concerns that they shared here today, and also thank the other speaker. For our applicant, you heard the concerns. This has nothing to do with your particular request, just desiring for Vanderlande to honor their other commitments that pertain to their original development, which I believe is far more than reasonable. And I appreciate the reasonableness of our last speaker. We do have a lot of stipulations and conditions that we do add onto cases, and we appreciate the advocacy of community groups to make sure that they are being abided by. When we make these binding on a zoning, it becomes part of law associated with that property. And so there is opportunity for us to ensure that those stipulations are being followed. What I would like to do is to not deny this, but to continue this matter and to reach out to Vanderlande between now and the next hearing to speak to these matters, ideally even hold a meeting with some members of the public so that we can at least address some of the public-facing things. There's some things that Vanderlande can do individually, but there are other matters, particularly this public meeting or event that I think can still happen, as they are still a part of this community. So if, Commissioners, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that. Commissioner Burrow. Yeah.
Thank you. When this came in for zoning back in 2022, it was District 3, and now it is District 2. The case before us is just for the charging stations, and unfortunately, the applicant for that isn't, that's her company, the company she works for, not these other issues with Van der Lande. However, I do have a question of Mr. Peterson. Has code enforcement received these complaints prior to this hearing today?
When I received this letter last night, I did forward it to Brent Farrell, our code enforcement manager, and there have been no code enforcement complaints in the last 3 years on Van der Lande. So this is,
Okay, and I understand giving them a month to correct these issues, but I feel like we're punishing the applicant for the charging stations when that seems to be critical if they're full the 5 that they have are full every day. But I guess since, if that's the consensus of the board, I guess that's what we need to do to hold it. And since no one from Van der Lande is here, is 30 days a reasonable time for them to come into compliance?
I wouldn't necessarily look for them to come into compliance with all of these conditions. There's some conditions that pertain to buildings being built that we know will not happen within 30 days. But I think there should be clear response to these matters that have been shared since they agreed to the conditions when we approve their application. Again, Commissioners, I'll be more than happy to hear from you with respect to that as well.
I'm supportive of holding the application. While it's not their fault, the conditions go with the property. And I find that when conditions are not met, if it goes on too long, it becomes very difficult to go back and have things done. And I'm dealing with this in District 4 with several zoning applications that's been approved in the past, to the point where I created a zoning cold case file because there are zoning matters that have not been met. So I think whenever we have an opportunity to have these issues corrected, we need to seize on those opportunities to make sure they're done. So
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gambrill?
I am also in support of the whole, but to kind of echo what Commissioner Sheffield says, I don't believe in our development standard there is any timeline. The law is kind of silent on that as far as when things have to happen. So maybe we as a board, when we're doing these stipulations, need to be more specific and put timelines on them. Because like the landscape right-of-way maintenance MOU with DOT, again, is that something that gets done immediately, or is that something that gets done upon final CO? So I think we need to be more specific. And my greatest concern is when, John, you said that no code enforcement violations had been brought up about the stipulations. I think that's a bad way for the county to address when stipulations are not being upheld, because it's going to put our code enforcement at a very distinct disadvantage, especially if the code is silent as far as timing on these things. So I know we're working on the UDC. Maybe this, Jessica, is something that we can incorporate into the UDC as far as how stipulations are addressed and timing, if that is not something that is currently in our existing code.
I agree with comments shared by the commissioners, and this may be a matter of practice, but there are other departments that are approving certain aspects of the development moving forward. Even short of a code change, are there some ways to not move forward with some of those decisions until other conditions have been met? Again, I think those might be easier to follow or adhere to when there's a timeline associated with the condition. But there's got to be a way where we shouldn't have to wait for a complaint in code enforcement to be able to act on a condition that we're putting on the property as a part of zoning. John, I don't know if you have any thoughts. You've been doing this for a while. I'm sure this is not the first time that you've seen this.
Well,
And I
you
know
know,
you're dealing
and-
with many of these issues right now.
As Commissioner Gamble stated, there are no timeframes in the minutes, so that's something we probably need to tighten up on. But the way our code enforcement currently acts is we don't do proactive enforcement. We only work by complaint. It's based on the number of personnel we have and the number of cases they have. So, if the board wants to look at, adding officers, we can look at more of a proactive approach to code enforcement.
Okay, maybe something that's zoning specific, officers that look at these cases, particularly at the conditions when we improve them. We can talk more about that offline. Commissioner Gamble?
Yeah, because essentially when it comes into zoning, it comes into construction, that's our inspectors that are then responsible for ensuring that the sites are developed as the stipulations in the site plan says. And I see Jessica's approaching.
Yes, this is our Community Development Director.
Thank you, Board. Jessica Gwen, Community Development Agency Director. I appreciate the chance to address this really quickly. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, to John's point, stipulations, zoning stipulations are always so specific to the case and the situation. So it would be helpful, and this might be something that staff can help with, if on some of these conditions, we do have some timelines outlined that at X point this needs to happen, and it probably is going to vary depending on the case and the situation. One thing in understanding that, budgets are what they are, and, we put forward personnel requests, and, as you all know, we operate with a pretty lean shop. So when John says that we are proactive in our code enforcement, that's because that's what we have, or we are reactive versus proactive, is because that's what we have the resources to do. And we are, of course, with the city of Mableton coming on and preparing to take on some services, we may have some chance to look at that a little bit differently and see how maybe we can realign and utilize some of our resources better. One thing that I had mentioned to John at one point before, that if this is something that the board would be interested in, that we could consider, is to look at someone, an inspector, a zoning inspector, who is specifically assigned to ensuring that these zoning stipulations are followed up on. Of course, as things come through plan review, we catch those things, we incorporate them into the plans, but somebody that can stay on top of those things when perhaps they haven't submitted plans, here we are 3 years later, we don't have the new building, so to what extent, at what point is it time to hold their feet to the fire on the infrastructure improvements or landscaping improvements or what have you. So I'm just, of course, as you know, we're getting ready to work on budgets. We're working on that now. But if that is something that might be of interest to the board to consider, then I'm certainly glad to talk to you all about that down the road.
I'm hearing consensus on that, Commissioner.
And sometimes we do tie these stipulations to an LDP or permit,
Right.
so that they have to complete these prior to getting the final CO or permit. So if they have from the 2022 zoning, and they haven't completed the buildings or the site plan, and we don't have a timeline, I get that, but what they can finish now, and if we hold this, I would recommend that, and getting code enforcement and inspections out there to identify everything. And then maybe talk to Michael Brantley too about the park, because it is county-owned, and see, again, what we're gonna do with that.
All right. Well, it sounds like, again, certainly staff is happy to have some conversations with Vendor Londe as the applicant there to find out more about what their plans are and their timelines, and work with them to be a good neighbor here in the community. So.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, and Commissioner Brawl, I'll be happy to work with you in community development, since this was in your district prior. If you want to be pulled into
Okay.
it, if you don't, I'll give you that discretion.
John and code enforcement are gonna take care of it, but yes,
But you have some
I'll be
familiarity.
involved.
Thank you, appreciate that. Commissioners, are there any other comments? With that, I move that we hold other business item 6 to the next zoning hearing. to address the matters discussed during the hearing of this application?
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion? Call the question. The matter passes 4-0. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, and Madam Chair and Board, we did hear from the applicant for LUP 6 of 2025,
Yes.
Lockheed Gulledge Wanda, and they're not going to be in today.
Okay.
So at this point, the staff would ask the board to withdraw this without prejudice.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Sheffield.
Thanks. I make a motion to withdraw LUP 6, 2025 without prejudice.
All right.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the question. The matter passes 4-0. And I believe that we have our applicant before us for Z3. John, how would
Okay,
you
I'll
like
read
to
that.
proceed?
Read it back into the record.
Okay.
Zone case Z3, Trayton Homes, request rezoning from R80 to R30 and R80 for a single-family residential subdivision in land lots 386 and 429 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Lost Mountain Road, east of Macklin Woods Drive. Earlier, there's 3 people here opposed, and the applicant is present.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to the neighbors. It was constructive, and I'm going to add some conditions, and I think that that will address their concerns. So
Okay.
I appreciate it. So I'm not going to go through, unless you really want me to, I'm not going to go through a full presentation.
Certainly, just let me ask a question. I don't know, we called the case prior, if we swore everyone in, if the persons who are here in opposition may need to speak at some point. If maybe we can wait till after, and then if we need to swear them in, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, you can go ahead, unless Commissioner Gamble, you have any other thoughts?
So Parks, I would just like to hear the stipulations that you've
Yep.
agreed upon.
Okay. This is a rezoning for a portion of a 40-acre tract on Lost Mountain Road. A portion of it's going from R80 to R30. It's basically, the R30 portions is 40 acres, and it's, or 20 acres and, or 18 lots on about 20 acres. So less than 1 unit per acre. Just want to emphasize that. The neighbors to the west have an R80 piece of property, and they have asked us to be sensitive to their existing R80 conditions and add a buffer requirement. So condition number change would be an additional condition that the back of lots 16, 17, and 18, they are R30 lots that back up to an R80 property. There will be a 50-foot undisturbed buffer adjacent to their property that will remain undisturbed. And on the inside of that buffer, in other words, on our side of that, we will do a chain link, vinyl coated chain link fence to demarcate that buffer area and ensure that it remains an undisturbed buffer. So it's going to be from the property line, 50 feet of buffer, and then a privacy fence. So that's condition number 1, or additional condition number 1. The second additional condition is a recognition that there is stormwater concerns because there's downstream lakes, and that the applicant will make sure, and during plan review, that the stormwater management plan is sensitive to the existing downstream conditions, and during construction will also take that into account. So with those 2 additions, I think the neighbors that are here are fine with it going back on consent or approving it as stated, along with my previous conditions that staff read it.
Thank you. We're doing this a little off. Thank you for coming up and reading in those additional conditions. I don't know what we just heard, if that was part of an actual presentation, if that's consideration for consent, because it was originally on consent. I didn't have my clock running, so I just need some interpretation of how to receive what we just heard.
I think there's an effort to try to put it back on consent with these
Okay.
additional stipulations.
Okay.
And if that was agreeable to, I think the commissioner, as I understood it, wanted to hear what those were before she
Okay.
proceeded with those.
Thank you. Then I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Gamble.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we put Z3 of 2025 back onto the consent agenda. John, do you want me to read the stipulations as were approved, or did you want to do that?
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and read them, Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay, the Planning Commission recommends approval to the R30 and R80 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number one, District Commissioner to approve the final site plan and building elevations. Number two, District Commissioner to approve the final landscape plan. Number three, letter of agreeable conditions from Mr. Parks Huff dated January 29, 2025. Item number 11 is deleted in its entirety. Number four, any staff comment stating fee in lieu of sidewalks is to be deleted. Number five, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number six, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. Number seven, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. And number eight, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations.
All right, thank you.
And then also, I would like to add the following stip as presented by Mr. Huff, that a coated chain link fence to be installed at the rear setback line of lots 16, 17, and 18, and to the inside of the 50-foot undisturbed buffer. And then also noting that there are concerns of stormwater issues in the area. And that would complete my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. I was going to see if the applicant's amenable to that. I see you approaching, if you would like to address.
I just want some clarity that, so because you mentioned rear setback line and the 50-foot buffer. What we discussed was the 50-foot buffer, then the privacy, or not the privacy, it's the vinyl coated fence.
Correct. So essentially, we're saying you're going to put it at the rear of the rear setback, but at the front of the buffer. We tried to describe it both ways.
Yeah,
We're saying the same thing.
okay. I'm good with that.
We just wanted to make sure that it didn't go on the property line,
Yeah.
that it went on essentially the rear setback of the building, but in front of the 50-foot buffer.
Johnny, you good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's clear for our clerks? Okay. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner.
I would just like to make a couple comments, and I want to thank Trayton in working with this application. This piece of property has been in multiple times for various developments that were completely inappropriate for this area. So I think this is a good compromise that we came to. But I also appreciate the fact that Trayton has agreed to 12 of the 27 homes will be less than 2,800 square feet, which again, in the range of that is 2,000 to 2,800 square feet. So again, they're helping bring potential affordability, but also housing variety back to the area, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gambrill. Are there any other comments? We'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0. John, I'm not seeing any other matters on our agenda, are you?
That completes the agenda, Madam Chair, and it's good to be back doing zoning.
It is. 'Tis still the season of love, isn't it?
It is,
Hour-long meeting.
and we're going to hold you to 1 hour zoning hearings for the rest of the year.
You set the bar so high.
Yeah.
With that, our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us.
I think we said.